Hello, viewers, and welcome to yet another exciting moment with us on this program, Future Ambassadors. Today, we are looking at something very, very important. But before then, Omotola Adokai Ogundele. We are looking at something very, very important: discovering identity or creating an identity. And with me in the studio are two lovely guests that will be telling us more about this. I have Jane Theodore. You're welcome to this program.
Thank you, Omota.
And I also have Mr. Shegun Adekoya. You're welcome to this program.
Thank you, Mrs. Ogundele.
We are looking at creating an identity. So, Jane, what is an identity before we go into creating an identity?
An identity is a person's signature, something that makes a person different from the crowd, something that makes one stand out.
Okay.
Identity is what makes you who you are. You can't compromise it for anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's hear from Mr. Shegun. What's identity?
Identity is the public perception of an individual.
Okay.
What an individual is to himself and to other people around him. That is an identity.
Okay. So why do we need to know our identity or discover our identity?
Identity is not discovered. Identity is created.
Okay.
Identity is something you make of yourself over a period of time after clarifying your values, after searching through your gifts, your talents, and after determining who you are, the kind of person you wish to be and you wish to be seen to be. That is what your identity is. And people work on this for a period of time. It actually evolves after a lot of practices. It's a conscious thing. It's not something It's not something that just come over the night. It's something that somebody prepares for and actually take a decision to build.
Okay. So how do I identify myself?
There are various ways to identify yourself, but there are factors that contribute to your identification.
Okay.
And do you know that the identification of a child starts from when he is born? To the family he is born into, to the religion he practices, to his social environment. And then at that point, when he gets to social, then he starts going to a stage whereby he starts knowing what is right, what is wrong, picking out what he sees to be his own core value.
Okay.
That is how you identify. That is how you start identifying yourself.
So is it important that as a youth outside there, the person must identify himself or herself?
It is very essential. It is very essential for a youth to identify himself, because a very high percentage of youths who identify themselves at the early stage are the ones that are successful.
Okay.
Go to the likes of Wizkid, go to the likes of Davido, go to the likes of many of them like that. They tend to identify themselves at a very early age and they become successful. But not all youths tend to identify themselves on time, which has led to the increased rate of unemployment, increased rate of poverty, and on and on.
So now, what are those things, or what are those factors that will help us to identify ourselves? Let me go to Mr. Shegun first before coming back to you.
Factors that can help us to identify ourselves are: one, our environment in which we grow up, parenting, the kind of parenting we are exposed to. Number two is what kind of education do we have and training. Number three is our talents and gifts. Number four is our interests and our hobbies. Number five is our skills. Number six is our immediate environment and our peer, the kind of people we mix with. These are important factors, important determinants of a person's identity. And if I want to take them one by one, I want to look at the home. The home prepares you, the home nurtures you. And then the kind of nurturing you get from your parent from when you were young actually builds up with you, and they grow up with you, get accustomed to them, such that if any other thing comes from any other way, it looks strange to you.
Okay.
Then we move from there, we look at our talents. Somebody can draw very well. You discover that from your children when they are very young. Some people can sing very well. Some people know how to dance very well. And children along this line tends to exhibit certain kind of traits. Some of them are extroverts, some of them are introverts, and all those things culminate into, okay, this is the kind of person this particular child is going to be. Then we move away from there, we go to the school system. What type of education are you exposed to? Right from when you are young, some people, the pattern of teaching they are exposed to, the teachers, the model of teachers that they have,
Okay.
they form part of their role models, and they help them to become the person they actually become in later life. Then we look at the skills that somebody possesses. What are you able to do? What can you lay your hands upon? How many successes do you make out of the things you're able to do? They help you to build your self-esteem. If you are the type that fail very often, you develop a fear for taking challenges.
Okay.
But if you have been so skillful that whatever you do, you are able to manage to experience levels of successes, it also boosts your self-esteem, and there is a sense in you that says, okay, I can do it. Then we want to look at role models. Who are your role models? Are your role models close to you to mentor you, or do you just see them on the pages of newspaper? Oh, I like this person. Many of us like Wole Soyinka. I love Wole Soyinka, but I've never met him personally. But yet, if I were to mention my role models when I was young, Wole Soyinka is a role model, but he is not there to mentor me. You understand? So,
Well, it cannot be close. It cannot be that close. But at least you see his papers.
I see his papers. Yes,
and all that.
yes.
Through reading those books and
fine.
mentoring
Yes,
others.
yes. Then some people have the kind of role models that are there in the socialite, like film celebrities. You understand? And you see them from when they were very young. They start plaiting their hair in a particular fashion. They start doing some things, all of those things. It's a whole process of identifying oneself. So self-identity is not just about carrying an identity card that bears your picture and your name. It goes a long way into determining the kind of person who you are inside and the kind of appearance you want to maintain. Part of identity is keeping low cut. Anytime you see this person is always on low cut. Some people don't look at identity up to that level, but it's part of the identity that one needs to look at. How do I want to appear to the public presentation? Your appearance is the way you appear, is the way people see you. And Yorubas have a way of saying it. I said, Irinisi, Oni, Soni Lojo.
Okay.
You understand? That is the way you appear,
Present
is
yourself.
the way people accept you or not. So now, these are all part of the things that we talk about under identity.
Okay.
Then if we now go to we have talked about talents, we have talked about skills, we have talked about school, the way the school could help somebody. I think
Okay.
we can
Let me go
still
to
handle
Jane.
that.
Jane, how much control do I have in shaping my identity?
How much control?
Do I have? How can I control myself to have a particular identity?
Okay, in how can you control yourself? How much control do you have in
Like
creating your identity?
yes, shaping my identity.
You have, let's say,
Do I allow people to influence my identity? Do I have a control to say, okay, this is it? He just mentioned some things now. How do I control myself to get that identity I need or I want to have? If I want to be like Wole Soyinka, how do I control myself to get that?
according to what he said, to have a self-identity, you have to go through a lot of, there are many determinants, there are processes. Now these processes are there to help you make your choice. All these things are there to help you. Everything will come to you and you have the whole right. At that point, not even your father, your mom can. At that point, this is what works for me. This is what I would do.
Do you think everybody gets to that point to say this is what works for me, or what people says about me?
Some people actually don't get to that point. Most of them, they fall short at the point, because it is a level. Even this level of choice making, this stage of choice making, it's a level. The first level, you are confused. At that point, you are getting to start you are starting to arrange everything. Then you get to a level whereby when you arrange, you start hearing when people say this is what you are, this is what you are. They are giving you their own perspective. And if you tend to shift to all those perspectives, you are still not identifying yourself. It is now then you say, okay, this percent of people say this is how I am. This percent of people say this is how I am. But in the real sense,
What do I want to be?
Exactly. What do I want to be? I think this is who I really am.
So do you think people lost identification? They are, in case they want to, let me say, put it this way, why do people experience loss of identification?
Oh, there are many reasons why people lose their identity. The economy, for example.
Okay.
Because you can see a child who is well trained. He has been, as not well trained, not just home training. We have social training, home training. You understand? All this has contributed to who he is. He is to be honest. He is to be humble. He is to be hardworking. This is what he does. Then he gets to a level and he says, oh, what comes to my office is 5,000 and I'm supposed to remit 5,000. Then 10,000 came into his office. Health issues. In fact, stressors. You know when they call what they call stressors? Stressors are things that pressures the mind of an individual. So when the stressors are beyond his control, he tends to compromise.
Or even what people even say about, okay, you are returning the 10,000 and say, oh, people
Do you understand?
So you get influenced by what people says and all that.
It takes strong will. It takes strong will to maintain an identity.
Do you think self-esteem is something like that can affect an identity?
Self-esteem goes a long way in affecting identity. Self-esteem is, if you have a low self-esteem, you won't easily discover your identity. If you have a high self-esteem, you have a higher tendency of discovering yourself, because you know who you are. You know the things you do.
Don't you think is self-esteem is when you identify yourself that you have to, then that self-esteem comes in. I think that's the way it goes. When you identify yourself, oh, I want to be this, then you are proud of yourself, then you build on it. Because you gave us a definition that initially everybody's on a flat scale, then you discover that self and you build on it. So don't you think that's when you have this identity, then you build up on self-esteem?
Esteem is not when you have the you have the identity. Esteem is from my own perspective.
Yeah.
I think esteem comes before self-identity, because at that point you are trying to figure out where to place your hands. And if you are weak at trying new things, you develop low self-esteem. But if you're someone that try, when you fail you keep trying, at that point you are building your own self-esteem. At that point, when you build your own self-esteem, you start identifying what people can know you for, what people can actually relate with you for.
Okay.
At the same time, self-esteem comes before and after. After you've identified yourself, you automatically have a high self-esteem that, okay, this is who I am. And do you know, at the same point, after identifying yourself, you can still have low self-esteem. You can still, because when you have identified yourself, I think Mr.
Okay, let's go to the okay. You want to rehear to that before we go to
self-esteem and self-identity are two different things, though related. Self-esteem is my perception of my person. How do I carry myself, irrespective of what any other person is saying? And when my self-esteem is low, there is complex that is introduced into me. If I carry myself beyond what I am, there is also a complex. One is superiority, the other is inferiority. But when my self-esteem is balanced, I want to see myself as a normal human being. As a normal human being, it has to do with how I relate with you, how I relate with my work, how I relate with other people around me, then how I relate to myself.
Okay.
That's what defines my self-esteem. But that does not define who I am.
Okay.
What defines who I am is my identity, my personal identity. But if I have a good perception of myself in self-esteem, it may help me to build a positive identification. I don't want to be a bully.
Okay.
Bullying is a question of self-esteem.
Yeah.
That is a complex somewhere. I am always bigger than them. It's an inferiority complex. Everybody around me is
But I don't
lower
want to
me.
be a bully.
But
That's an identity.
But I don't want to be a bully. That's an identity. I don't want to be a bully. So it helps me to overcome that low self-esteem, because I have understood the weakness in myself, and I'm seeking correction. So actually, self-identity could help you to boost your self-esteem.
Okay. So do we need to know about more of our strengths and our weaknesses?
Yes, I think in identifying who you are, the first thing any individual want to do is an analysis of self, SWOT. Where am I strong? Where am I weak? What are the opportunities for me to exploit? What are the threats for me to handle? That SWOT analysis has to be done. It's not. It doesn't have to be something official that you write on paper. It's a daily thing that you encounter every day. You know the places you go where you have fear, that fear will not allow you to operate. You know the places you go where you operate freely and with ease. You know the type of things you do that gives you good results. You know the one you try that gives you hard time. By daily lives, you begin to choose
Okay.
combination sets of choices, and based on the opportunities that comes your way, and the way you're able to exploit your chances of success. Then I think that is on one end. On the other hand is your skill. What can I do? Another thing that we talk about there is what you're able to do successfully that gives you recurrent success.
Results. Okay.
Success. Then how do I want people to see me? You see, the question of SWOT is strengths and weakness and opportunities and threat analysis is cardinal to defining oneself.
Okay. Let me hear from Jane. Do you have something to say about the strength and weakness of someone?
Yes, because for you to have an identity, you should be able to identify those things, those strengths, those weakness.
Okay.
And one thing there is you should be able to establish on your strengths and manage your weakness. You establish on your strengths, you manage your weakness, and you know how to and when you establish your strengths, you manage your weakness, you'll be able to one thing, you'll be open to the opportunities that complement
Your strengths.
your strength. Then you have the strength to actually manage your threats, because at that point you are already managing your weakness.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So do you think most youths these days have really gotten to that level to identify themselves? You're a core member. How do you see youths outside there? We have a huge rate of unemployment. We have people trying to copy this, copy that, and all that. Not really themselves. What do you think about that?
I would say the volume of youths, or the percentage of youths that are out there now, they clone. What they do is, this is what this person is doing. They copy. They don't, you don't have time to discover themselves on time. Like what I said, those youths that discover themselves on time tend to be successful on time. But those that aftermath that they've passed, because everything has stages. After they've wasted some time behind, and they start, it will take them time. Okay. Because at that time they've passed the age. Do you know there's an attractive age for opportunities? Mm-hmm. There is. So those that actually identify themselves on time, they tend to be very attractive at that young age. But when you start at the latter stage, they'll be like, at least when you have someone like that and have a younger person that has discovered himself, that person tends to be more attractive than they are, leaving them unemployed, leaving them in the state of poverty. That is how,
even in this aspect of marriage too, because you are talking about attractive and all that.
Exactly, because at that point some ladies believe, I'm still young, I'm still beautiful. Some guys believe, I still have the time to stretch, and time is going. Later you now say, lady, that anything that comes, I will go. You see, at that point you see a man, he would even tell you that no, in fact I will even sponsor the wedding. Mm-hmm. That is because time has gone before they start discovering that, okay, I think this is what I should be looking out for. They clone these days. They don't take time. And those that take time to identify themselves, they are always looked down on. They make them feel like they are not up to they are not up to the societal standard, and it takes those people in that category to have strong will,
Yeah.
to be able to maintain the identity they have.
Okay. Asa, do you think parents in a way have a way to they try to like either marry somebody's identity or help the person to discover the identity?
I think it's the two ways are right. A parent can help a child to detect his identity on time, and the parent can mirror the child's identity. I'll go this way. As a parent, you know your children right from when they are crawling. You know the things they do, you know the plays, you know the things they handle very well when you send them on an errand. So you know your children before they begin to know themselves. And if you are close to your children, you could actually tailor them along their interests and their talents and their gifts. That is helping them to develop their identity. But where a parent fails in that, then the child goes haywire. You could not catch the child young.
Okay.
And when you are unable to catch your child young, there is a price you pay as a parent. There is a price the child also has to pay. That is for another day. But for today, I think we will be contented with the statement that parents play a vital role in the identity of their children. They
Okay.
can go a long way in
We
helping
have
them.
a lot of problems in society. We have so many things happening in the society. Youth not really doing what is expected of them. Do you think it's as a result of not identifying themselves?
It could be part of it, because identifying yourself has to do with value clarifications. You know, you choose the values you want to believe in, and if you are not crime inclined, then you want to be a law-abiding citizen. You see, even criminals identify themselves. So to say it's not about not that, it's about knowing that this is what I can do best, choosing what you want to do. Everything is a choice. It's a choice to be a thief. It's a choice to be a policeman who will arrest the criminal. So I think it has to do with individual's choice, and those choices are basically from the home.
Okay.
What kind of home do we grow from? What kind of peers do we mix with? I think the whole question of identity is an evolution over time and again. And part of it could also be the challenges we face in the society. The society is not friendly now, especially economic-wise. It's so harsh. It's so harsh. Even children who wants to live a positive life, identifying themselves to be good looking, to be law-abiding, to be this, there are pressures, economic pressures, social pressures, political pressures on them, even to mutate that developmental process.
Okay.
And that's a big challenge for our nation
So,
today.
Jane, before we wrap it up, do you have what do you have to tell people at home in the aspect of identify themselves and all that?
I would say youth out there shouldn't feel left out when they are trying to identify.
Before that, who are you as a person? Let's hear from you. Let's learn some things from you.
I am a strong-willed person. I don't allow people make decisions for me, because there are some decisions that you would make on my behalf thinking it is for my own good. Then, knowing the kind of person I am, it doesn't correlate. I make my terms clear, and you make your terms clear. We find a balance.
Okay.
That is who I am. I respect people, younger, older, in fact the unborn, but I don't take disrespect. That is
Okay.
all. That is my person.
So,
I
what's your
don't take-
identity?
I heard they're going to edit this video.
Yeah.
I am strong-willed. I am a disciplinary person. I discipline. Very industrious, truthful, I work with truth, I work with facts. I don't assume. You don't tell me things based on assumption. I work with reality, I work with facts. Truth, reality, and facts.
So in the next 5 years, where will you be?
Next 5 years, I'll be a business owner. Chains of business owner, because that is what I do.
Okay.
I manage things.
Thank you very much. Then your advice to the youth.
My advice there to the youth is, don't think there is enough time to do everything. Whatever you have on your table to do, do it. Let it be, I am moving to the next one. I am moving to the next one. Not, I have enough time. If you have enough time to eat a particular food when it is hot, it gets cold and it doesn't make any sense again. Don't feel intimidated. Don't feel intimidated, because a lot of youths out there, they say, I've seen a child of 18, a teenager, who is saying, my friends are buying car, and I'm like, at the age of 18, it's not wrong, but is that the first thing? Is that the first thing? Therefore, you are leading those who are working, going through the normal procedure. You are making them feel as if they are not on the right track. Okay. You are going to, how would I put it? You are trying to infuse a complexity in them, in their own process of identifying themselves. So every youth should learn to go through the process patiently, not cloning someone else.
Thank you very much. Mr. Segun Adekoya, what do you have to tell the youth outside and parents listening?
Parents, I will address first. Your children should be what you want them to be in terms of beauty, in terms of identity. Be the first role model to your parents, to your children. Then children, it's never too early to discover who you are. Begin to work on it.
It's never too late.
And it's never too late. Begin to work on it, and very soon you will come out a clearly defined human being.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, and thank you, viewers, for being there. Until we come your way again on the same program next week. Bye-bye.